Alright, check. There we go, check. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the soft opening of PanNerdia, where we're going to bring the first episode of one of our series, The Walker Talkers. With me is Pete, and my name is Aaron. I am the founder of PanNerdia, and I welcome you guys here to this soft opening. I'm real excited for this. I've been working on this channel for a little bit. It's essentially everything nerdy about me and everything I love. That includes art, video games, entertainment, The Walking Dead, Westworld, Game of Thrones, Dragon Ball, anime, everything. I love it. I'm excited to be here and talking about it. I'm excited to have Pete here joining me, and I'm excited for the second half of Season 8 of The Walking Dead. And this is essentially what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to kind of have a little brief kind of catch up on what happened on the first half of Season 8. And we're going to... Yes! Carl! I got Carl Pete here, and this is fucking sweet, dude. Yes. Oh, and this is Jackson back here. He's chilling. Skeleton Jackson from the Bone Zone.
What is that delay? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that way, you know, we can see what's cracking. But welcome to PanNerdia. Welcome to the Walker Talkers. Again, this is a soft opening. As the weeks progress, you'll see more and more of the series I want to produce on this channel kind of show themselves. Again, a lot of it's going to be art and entertainment, everything that I love, everything that I'm super nerdy about. Be looking out for it, guys. And tonight, like I said, we're talking about The Walking Dead Season 8 B, second part. But we're going to kind of give a little brief, you know, refresher on the first half. So
before we refresh, I have 3 questions for you.
Yes.
Oh, creator of PanNerdia, how many walkers have you killed?
7 1/4.
How many people have you killed?
1/4.
A quarter of a person?
Yeah.
You broke someone's heart or someone's ass, one or the other.
No, they had multiple personalities, and
yeah. How many and why did you kill them?
Let's not discuss this live.
This is Walker Talkers.
Whoa.
But really, I need to say one thing.
Yes.
Leading up to this episode, the mid-season premiere, I just have to say, Carl! Why, Carl?
No!
Don't leave us, Carl! For Christ's sake, Carl. Don't go!
Carl!
Alright.
That was our little show to you all. Pete's special surprise to me. I did not expect any of that, by the way.
This is a Stetson that is like 3 sizes too small for my melon. But I should have stood up. I had the Carl shirt on. I was going to open it up, but eh.
It worked.
Alright.
Speaking of Carl, that's kind of where the... oh, and of course, if you guys haven't seen Season 8, spoilers ahead. That's your warning. Here we go.
Yep.
Speaking of Carl, that last episode of the first half of Season 8, it's quite the shocker.
I mean,
including Mr. Riggs there.
I got to give it to him. It was well shot. Cinematography was great. Acting, of course, was good. You know, the build up to you know, this point we're at in All Out War. You know, understandable. The speech Carl had with Negan from the fence was great. It really showed like great emotion, and it kind of sort of showed like sort of a reality check in Negan, but
right.
The fact that like we watched that scene, and now we're not going to have Carl to have more Carl Negan scenes or Carl anything scenes is just a damn fucking shame.
Yeah, especially since there's so much potential story derived from the comic between Carl and Negan. and that's just one thing. I almost thought it was a hoax. Another one of those like Glenn under the dumpster type deals where it's, oh, they're pulling our fucking. You remember we watched the mid-season finale, and we're like, oh, I'm like, he's not dead, and then
we're past the point of could it be he's immune like in the comics?
He's goner.
I mean, we know too much that they don't talk about on Talking Dead, but here on the Walker Talkers, we talk about the production, behind the scenes, gossip, rumors, and all the stuff that Chris Hardwick won't talk about because he works for AMC.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, he's a great guy. He does a great job,
Absolutely.
but like he cannot say some stuff, and sometimes he says lies to our face, like, "Well, I don't know what's going to happen next." No, dude, you're out having drinks, maybe smoking a blunt with Eugene, and you're getting all kinds of beans spilled. So let's just leave that where it lies, and let's get right to the main problem.
Being real.
Scott and Gimple.
Oh man, the butt pimple.
I mean, that's right. The butt pimple.
Yeah.
It does have its catchy name. But he obviously isn't the official showrunner for the Walking Dead original series, but he is the big boss man for the whole world of the Walking Dead.
Right.
I understand they are projecting greatness in the merger of Fear and the original show. And with Morgan, that's going to be great. More on that later. But without Carl, we already know we're going to watch like 82 minutes of Carl Swansong, but I hope it doesn't change Rick too much right off the bat. Let's wait until the end of season 8, because he's got a lot of ass to kick still, right?
He absolutely has a lot of ass to kick, and it's unfortunate with the whole Carl thing because we never truly got to see him as his own individual in the show yet.
Yes.
Where we know what happens with him in the comics, he becomes more of a leader, fills a leader role as he becomes older, as that time skip happens. But we never got to see that. Yeah, of course there was times he kind of took charge, but ultimately I feel like Carl was always an indicator of Rick's sanity level. If Carl was doing okay, or there was a certain instance where they weren't like really talking after the prison blew up, and it was just always an indicator of where's Rick at.
The danger level of Carl indicates the level of where Rick's head is at.
Yes.
And Rick's head has been like a yo-yo, understandably, in the apocalypse.
Right.
This specific kind of apocalypse.
So there's that aspect to where, like, are they going to be okay writing Rick still without Carl being in the show? Because he's real integral, especially with the whole Negan thing coming up, too.
That's a good point.
It's an interesting dynamic of why such a key stone of the architecture of
in
this.
saying that, what do the fans think? What do you think of who's going to take those parts? Is Gimple and Kirkman, they decided they're going to, well, maybe like Judith will grow up in a flash forward and start taking some specific parts, or maybe not. Maybe they're going to bring that one of the many Brits, like the Nick character from Fear. Is he going to come over in the crossover and ultimately like do what Carl is doing right now in the comics? I don't know, or something similar to that.
Right, I could see that too, because he's becoming very popular in that series, and for him to maybe come over and how they're very rapidly, combining these series, collision course, if you will. I could see a lot of that dynamic happening. Really, mainly, probably. And if they didn't think of this already, because the fans are probably pushing him, especially after all this Carl drama. And, it's just, we'll see tonight on the swan song of this season. Carl basically risks his life for an outsider. Someone he saw was like the representation of what his group represented. He saw him saving this outsider who wasn't inherently violent a chance to keep our group, Rick's group, in the holy light, as it were. The good guys that we still bring in outsiders no matter what, and still look out for them. And he tried to fulfill that to the point where it was almost like a little egotistical, because it ended up getting him like killed because he was so like, this is what we have to be, and he should have just got after the fact that they had to take down Negan. That was the final straw, and then they could work on becoming the good guys again. Yeah. At this point, they kind of have to drop those morals and just get after Negan.
Exactly. I mean, and he needs to be punished. We know, true fans.
Yes.
I guess we talk about the comic, like the outcome of the comic, or should we wait until after we've gotten really balls deep into season 8B?
Yeah, I think we should do that because it's kind of up in the air in terms of if they're going to wrap it up the way we predict or not.
I mean, so far,
we have seen,
7.5 seasons or whatever of The Walking Dead. We've seen similarities, and obviously some characters were killed off early in the comic that are still alive now. Some characters were killed long ago in the TV series that are still going on, or just now coming to their demise in the comic. But one thing remains for me, and that is when it comes to like a season climax or even a mid-season climax, most of the time when the main shit goes down, it goes down just like the comic. As far as like the big event, like the climax. Like, I really do think that this prediction is the most solid out of all of them, and that is Hilltop will be the site of the final stand.
I can see that. That seems very representative.
And that's pretty much where the final kind of stand was in the comic, but I at least see that happening. Because Alexandria is, torched, every other house bombed, just like in the comics. And you've got everybody on the run. Kingdom's wiped out, just like the comics. Most of the Kingdom warriors and stuff got killed off.
Right.
Just like the comic, a ton of saviors got killed, like more than anything else. And that's what happened in the show. They went from satellite building to building to building, got all the outposts, and really hurt the sanctuary to the point where it's like all decrepit, and now it's going to come down to this. But a whole 8 episodes to go.
I know, it's a lot.
That's a lot.
There's a lot to stuff in, so to speak.
So, I mean, if we want to predict these predictions, should I, just go over what happened in the last episode of 8A, then you could give me your thoughts, or?
Well, besides the obvious big overarching thing in the last episode of 8A was Carl, what are some other refresher points that you had stumbled upon from that episode?
Well, I would have to say, first of all, the most interesting to me is the very first camera shot of that last episode was Rick looking through his rifle scope or binoculars or whatever, and he saw how Eugene, in essence, got it cleared out for the sanctuary people to escape. But when I looked at other episodes prior to that, I realized I was probably wrong. There was a lineup of walker bodies coming from that garage door underneath Negan's little porch where he speaks to everybody.
Right, his little stoop.
His little stoop
of
the courtyard.
Right.
But the thing is that there was already like a bus frame completely exploded and all that, and I think maybe that was part of the vehicles that came in when Rick raided with the Kingdom people and a mixture of the Hilltop people in the first place, because that was already there in a different camera shot before Eugene figured something out. So I was just wondering, besides playing music down the street and leading the walkers out or something, in order to get out, they had to explode something, right?
Right.
So that was pretty interesting, how that happened, because now Negan's driving around whistling, ready to go, ready to kick ass and get revenge. But are they ever going to tell us how Eugene got them out? Or was it just Daryl busting a hole in the other side of the wall that did it?
I could see definitely Daryl being a big part, but in terms of Eugene's, help, I would think if they are going to say anything, it's going to be in the second half of the season, and it's going to be once he finally gets in more company of the original group. That he will explain himself. They're like, how'd you do it?
Exactly.
One of those kind of things. But maybe they won't. Maybe they'll play, fucking coy, and they'll keep it up like an open mystery.
Let it ride, right? Speaking of let it ride, what's going to happen with the scavengers? And Jonas, or whatever her name is, the leader. Are they going to be gone for the rest of All Out War? Or are they going to still be involved, kind of like Oceanside people are obviously going to be involved somehow before season 8's
I
over?
did see in one of the preview kind of little trailers for this season that she definitely is the scavenger leader, Amazonian, if you will. She's definitely in the season. I saw there was a couple of scenes in the little trailer with her. Whatever she's doing, not too sure.
and scavengers in general in the comic, they're pretty scarce throughout the comic.
Right.
They don't really have a kind of a main group presence, unless I could be wrong, but the group that does have presence next is the Whispers, and because this show is the Walker Talkers, we're not going to totally like dodge what could possibly happen, and that is, will there be Whispers? These are people that dress themselves in basically zipper suits that they skinned from
fresh
walkers, and they have to keep making new suits to keep fresh, and they could basically whisper to each other with short little phrases, kind of like the scavengers do, and basically herd all kinds of walkers to their liking.
Right.
And maybe even make like a border of like, this is our yard and they'll stay out kind of thing. But that might never come to fruition on the show, or it might come to fruition sooner than you think, or there might just be a teaser of it coming in 9 by the end of, season 8.
I think they, if anything, they could definitely be building them up to be them eventually.
And that's their MO. They drag it out, then they give you a little cliffhanger.
Right. They come and make it seem like, oh, they allies, or are they not? And then after the big threat of Negan's gone, that's when they will rise.
Yeah.
Because they'll seize that opportunity. And or somebody else will come into the fray to help them kind of step their game up, their zombie garb, their camo game, if you will. So.
Well, I guess the badasses of that last episode was Jerry and Carol, because
absolutely
they went beyond their own ability to save Rick when Rick was we thought he was all on his own. When the scavengers that he brought in were like, screw this, and they headed out.
Right.
So and then everything else they've done, and now I think we're gonna start this mid-season premiere. Is it gonna be 82 minutes of Carl, or we can actually see how Morgan's gonna help out, at the Kingdom? And I guess, what's the name of? I thought I wrote her name. Oh yeah, Nabila, or Nabila. She's the character that has the scarf,
right,
and had the machine gun, and kind of helped out at the end there. And then, as far as prediction goes, this isn't a prediction. This is what I want.
Right.
I want all of Negan's leaders to die, whether they're getting eaten by walkers or some extravagant
even
explosion.
Trevor. Well, not Trevor, but
Oh no.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy needs to be
Simon.
Yeah. Well, the guy with the hippie with the long hair that's always laughing at Morgan. Who's that guy?
Which one's that? Oh, that one. Yeah, I hate that one. That guy definitely needs to go down. But Simon's the one who's. Simon's the one who is a big, tall dude with the mustache.
Yeah.
It's Trevor from GTA 5.
Oh no, yeah, that's his name from GTA
5.
Right.
Yeah, right.
No, but yeah, Simon needs to go. That's Simon.
No!
But the guy, that little weasel,
man.
fans, Walking Dead fans all over, are just waiting to see how he goes, and I hope it's splendid. I hope it's not just a shot to the forehead.
I hope it's Morgan that gets to kill him.
Yeah, I hope it's maybe he loses an arm. He's like, what? And then he picks up his arm and beats him with his armpit or something.
Right. Yeah, I hope it's Morgan who ends his life. Yeah, man, I'm curious I'm just curious how they're going to wrap this season up in general. I mean, obviously we know the war is either going to end or be dragged on. We have Negan, whether he's going to be killed, which I doubt, because he's such a big favorite actor of the series now.
And he's Kirkman's bitch boy. I mean, not bitch boy, but he's
his love child
of the
right. Walking Dead comic world.
And whether they go the same direction with Kirkman's book that I haven't read yet about the background of Negan, or this is Negan, or that is Negan, or whatever. Even Jeffrey Dean Morgan got it wrong, the title of the book, and that's something I want to bring up real quick. So, not just Entertainment Weekly and comicbook.com and all these great little websites that have commentary and predictions and the frustration of Carl disappearing. But there was an interview with, I guess it was with Norman Reedus and Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Kirkman, creator himself, on a cruise ship to Mexico. Go figure.
You remember telling me.
And a lot of these fans are wasted, and they're asking these silly questions like if they can go out on a date with them. They don't really care. They definitely didn't know anything about the comics, because when the host of that interview was on the stage and he was hollering back and forth with the guy running around the crowd with the microphone to get the questions. He basically said like, oh, well, I guess you'll have to tune in and see Jonas or the leader of the Scavengers be the leader of the Whisperers, and no one reacted to that except for Kirkman, who was like, and he could have been joking, but he's like, man, what the hell, you know, like, why do you have to go there? Instead of like making a full-fledged joke, he was kind of like, oh, come on, you know.
Right.
So like, maybe that's a teaser that maybe we will know about the Whisperers sooner than later. Maybe it'll just be a little blip on the screen, kind of like the Wolves were, so they can move straight ahead to this whole Commonwealth thing that everyone's talking about. The newest comics just sort of introduced the Commonwealth Society, which is 50,000 strong. Michonne's a big part of that discovery, but we're not going to here to talk about the comic right now. We're here to make predictions about 8B.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, I guess we look back. There was a lot of Aaron and Edith that didn't have to happen, but I guess it's Pinnacle because they're going to bring in the Oceanside people.
Which is actually pretty cool, and I'm curious when they do that. I wonder if fucking Heath or Keith?
Heath.
I wonder if Heath is going to stumble back into the fray.
Who in this, speaking of stumble, that's great you say that, because in the comic, he just got his leg blown off at this point when Alexandria got bombed. You know how Carl got blown backwards?
Right, yeah.
Like, that was Heath, only the leg came off, too. Yeah, but he's gone.
Yeah, he probably won't be shown back up. But I do like how they're getting the Oceanside there, and though you know, it sucks that the like leader of the Oceanside, she passed last season. She got shot, right, by accident?
Yeah.
You know, but they got now her granddaughter or niece or whoever it was leading, and she seems more stronger-willed and willing to like work with other groups and not be so, you know, desolate from the others.
We can go up and down the cast right now and talk about our predictions of each character, but I have a special place in my heart for Maggie. Oh, Maggie.
Oh, Maggie.
But Lauren Cohen, she's like, was born in Pennsylvania, but she lived in Great Britain a long time. I don't know, like, she's got this accent that's like so sexy, because it's like she's been doing this southern accent for years now, Walking Dead, so she's got this mixed thing going.
Yeah, like this weird
this
neutral
overseas, like American yet southern. It's anyhow, she's amazing, and she's a very important part. Can't just kill Carl and then kill Maggie, and then where are you going with this? You're just gonna
now
like
kill Maggie? What do you mean by that?
It's like they're gonna reboot the whole thing because Lauren Cohen doesn't have a contract for season 9, which is huge because she already finished filming 8B, and guess what? I'm pretty sure she stays alive. Oh, I thought I was getting closer. I was getting pissed, getting close to the camera. Don't
Gotcha.
kill Maggie because of a contract dispute. Pay the woman.
Right.
Pay the woman. That sweet, succulent. Oh.
She deserves it, because if you guys are going to keep knocking
Yeah.
characters off who are important, integral characters of the story, ones who are like the core surviving group, yeah, maybe one of them die every once in a while to really like push it in to the story that like this is serious again and we need to keep going. But to just pick them off one by contractual issues.
We don't want you to jump the shark either with this whole Negan business.
Right.
And
Yeah,
like, I
that
know you
whole
guys are in
prediction.
love with Daryl because he's your boy that was born on the show, and I know Negan's Kirkman's boy and all that. And changing Negan into some sort of a good guy, if something would happen to Rick in future seasons,
Right.
would be such a disappointment after putting in all this fandom time into The Walking Dead.
Right.
I mean, think about the devotion. I don't care how much the ratings have gone down. Those lower ratings compared to other shows is still skyrocket, man. And in order to keep that fan base, that core base, that base that shows up to Comic-Con, that you know, watches it live and records it and watches it again, you know, and then watches
Right.
the talk shows right after, and maybe even watching this, probably one of the greatest shows, The Walker Talkers.
Yes.
But I really don't understand why they're waiting this long. They're supposed to start recording season 9, I guess, this summer.
Yeah, starting
like
in
late
the summer.
like August or something.
They usually do, yeah. It's like midsummer, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, yeah, they're gonna have to do it midsummer because they're gonna open up around Halloween like they usually do.
Yep.
So
That they have that
makes
first
sense.
season
we'll see. Is Maggie gonna be? I mean, she's not really showing her pregnancy on the show.
Right.
Does she lose the baby? Does she get sort of like lose the baby and gets pissed and like they write her off and she decides just to ditch everybody, and then maybe she does do a stupid show like all the millions of CSI cops and robber shows and spy shows.
The typical cliche.
Oh my
bullshit.
God! Every network has them, and they all suck.
They all suck, yeah.
And
Walker
she goes
balls.
off and does that and gets the big paycheck. Good for her. She deserves it. But at the same time, like, we need you, Maggie.
Right.
You symbolize Herschel. You symbolize,
Glenn,
Beth and Glenn
Mm-hmm.
and like the group from season 2, which is really such a core group there. All the people that have perished in the seasons through the prison, through the governor and all that stuff. Like everything you've been through. And now you've come to this like peak where you're the leader. You're even more of a leader than Rick ever was. Ezekiel now has lost everything, and he can still, he can still participate and put in his 2 cents and his fighting skills.
But he has no stage to stand on no more.
His time's running out. Let's just put it. It's plain and simple. On this show, his time's running out. It's only a matter of a season or a season and a half.
Right, before he's kind of out.
Before he's out, too.
Yeah, and it's just like, you got Maggie who represents this new leadership, and you have Carl who represents the future. And they have his baby sister, but she is not really representing the future quite yet because, in the show or in the book, again, we're not really talking about it too much, but his sister's no longer there. And if they want to keep her in, they're going to have to do a time skip. And like you said, maybe have her fill in Carl's shoes or some way or another. But, like, Carl represents that, like, these young kids, they're growing up in this. They're learning so much now. They're going to be the ones to take over the mantle and continue this prosperous...
Do you think if Carl's character lived that he would still at least want Negan to be tortured or killed? I mean, at least that one person? Or do you think he's like, we're all going to be like, kind of like like Rick said to Carl in that long walk?
Right.
He's like, what do you want me to, like, pick carrots or something with him or whatever? And I think Carl did say something like, whatever it takes, blah, blah, blah. That's really disappointing. I mean, Negan had Carl sing and dance just like in the comic, and and cry, and it's like the follow-up is vice versa. Carl's supposed to make Negan feel uncomfortable, and Carl's supposed to be more intellectually involved with Negan because he kind of already was, but they're just taking that all away, and I really don't see any other characters currently casted that are going to take that spot.
Unless it's going to be freaking Daryl.
And talk about mind games and stuff, I guess it could be Daryl, but the whole idea that Carl's younger and Negan, like, had his little confession in the little, whatever, train car, whatever, with Gabriel, and he had mentioned about working with kids. Maybe he was a gym teacher, maybe he was a counselor, maybe whatever. We just know he was a slut that cheated on his wife that died of, like, a cancer or something, and he was he says his one weakness was he couldn't put her down.
Right.
Because, like, when she got sick and then died, it was right around when all the shit hit the fan. But, like, as exciting as it may be for some fans to know more of the background of Negan, like, right now, I just want to know the future, and the future is now. And we could basically just, like, talk about different characters. Like, for instance, we know Rick's going to live, Andrew Lincoln's character. We know Norman Reedus is going to live. They're not going to kill him off. If they're going to do anything, Dwight will die, and Norman Reedus' character Daryl will take over that spot because they have to hold down the fort of all these places now. The Sanctuary, the Kingdom, Alexandria. Someone's got to be in charge, and I don't know if Daryl's the one or if it's just going to be Dwight. But we already talked about Lauren Cohen. We already know what's happening with Chandler Riggs. He's gone.
Now what about Michonne? Now the big thing is, with Carl passing, how's that going to keep the Rick Michonne relationship going?
Right.
You know, because he's kind of the glue. I mean, because I feel like she had more of a relationship with Carl at first before she ever had it with Rick. It was almost that Rick saw how she was with Carl, which made
absolutely.
him kind of fall for
when
her.
the three of them were on the road, that was some of the best scenes too.
They were. That was some good slice of life
Yeah.
in the Apocalypse. You know how they had that little friendship with the candies and this and that.
All
I
of
mean,
it.
so how is that gonna kind of project her into the future?
Well, I think they're going to stomp the cigarette out on all of how everyone is going to be, because Carl has the opportunity while he's hot fever flashing, getting ready to die here, to write a fucking book to everybody in Alexandria and beyond if he really wanted to. You know, he's got his letters. He's got a chance to be face to face with people one last time.
All right.
He's going to tell everyone what they should do. Like, his death should bring on this greatness that he foresees. I understand that, but man, don't drag it out for 82 minutes. Like, do it for 10 minutes. We'll all be teary-eyed, and it sucks. But now that everyone's built it up so much, I don't know how emotional I'm going to get. I'm going to be more like, okay, then, what are you going to do about it?
Right,
You know
it's gonna make me more irritated.
Give me a reaction and by action. Like, I want to see someone on the bad guy side go down.
Right.
Like in this episode.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to have to wait until like the 8th episode.
8, 9. I want to see somebody go down.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do too, because and that's the thing is, so if Michonne, we don't know really what her outcome is, but Rick, the biggest thing is I know we talked about him, but what's the biggest thing that's gonna happen to him based on that? Too, is he gonna fucking just fall into like a depression, like a somber state, or is he gonna go in the fucking rage mode?
Maybe he'll start talking to Carl on a telephone like he did with Lori, and but the thing is that he's probably gonna be at first like, I gotta murder someone, like the anger is gonna set in, but then Michonne and maybe just the fact of him like reflecting on what Carl really wants, he's probably gonna do what Carl wants in the long run, and I don't know how that's going to be really exciting way to end this season, but at least along the way, we'll see something besides people mourning, like maybe some walkers eating some saviors.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would like that too.
Like maybe another Melissa McBride scene where she does something on her own to unleash total death and destruction.
I think she will. I think she will this half of the season, because she was a little more timid still, even the first half. Yeah, she was out there fighting, but it was still kind of her holding back a little bit.
Because like her and Jesus and Morgan, like they're the only like three, and even maybe some of Jerry, maybe some of Ezekiel. Those are the only ones that could really like guerrilla fight out there and do some warfare stuff. Where Maggie's like, she's pregnant, she's like this leadership role, she has to make all these decisions. And man, it's brilliant. Like, she's playing Simon like a piece of shit by like asking for the coffin and putting the dead guy in there and saying there's more, and like, so now they're all bargaining chips. And now we know Negan has said more than one occasion that people are priority. People are basically money in the bank. Like, he sees people that could serve him as today's modern money, where like in Fear the Walking Dead, like money was water at one point, but we're not going to talk about Fear.
We will eventually.
Yeah, eventually we'll talk about Fear, and when you look at the whole scope of the Walking Dead world, they'll probably end up having one in Asia, which I'm kind of hoping for.
I would love they would.
That would be at most excellent. They could do just even some like smaller scene stuff in Europe or Africa or something like that.
I think that would be great if they had something based in Europe, something based in Africa, and like something based in Asia.
People that are in third world countries, how are they dealing with it? Are they just wiped out, or because they live the way they live, are they able to like get to the bottom of it and like, okay, stabbed to the head? Instead of like 3 months in the United States of trying to figure out like, they're not dying, shoot them 100 times in the chest.
Because not to necessarily compare this to other zombie flicks and forms of entertainment over the years. Walking Dead is great, but I just love seeing other perspectives than just our Atlanta group and now our West Coast group. I want to see stuff from other parts of the world. I mean, you got World War Z. They have a story in Paris and they have a story in Japan. The Japan story is fucking awesome. And then you have other shows where you got it in like over in like the British Isles. You have Resident Evil games where there's Resident Evil 4 takes place in Spain. Resident Evil 5 takes place in Africa.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see those different aspects of the world taken over by the virus, and I would love to see that in The Walking Dead, even if it is shorts.
And speaking of shorts, like they kind of Fear already has done that, and that is like, what is it like if you're stranded on a boat? You go island hopping. Will that work? No, they kind of answered it. No, it doesn't. What if you're on an airplane commercial flight and freaking plague breaks out? Like, well, they answered that on Fear briefly for like a few minutes of an episode. So they've kind of, and then what if there's a water reservoir? Like now water's the big thing. What if you go to like a bunker community that's like set up for the apocalypse already, but there's other people discovering it, and they've already did that. What if there's warlords that are trying to like get control of a power grid and all that, and that's kind of like the whole Fear's going through Texas next. They're filming there. Lenny James is going to be a part of it. It's going to be a flash forward. Lenny James is still, though, going to be in the next 8 episodes that we're about to watch tonight.
Which is just awesome that he's willing to expand.
We know he lives because they're not going to go back and show us
we know
where was he before his wife and son died, while Rick was knocked out, all that. Nope, this is going to be a jump as Lenny James has told everyone, so he's given that away at least.
So that is basically like, we know he's going to be safe this season. Then.
So he's safe this season,
a safeguard.
But who is not safe because of him,
Right.
I can see him kind of like friendly fire, like accidentally killing a good person just because he goes into one of his rages.
Right.
But I don't know. He's going to be acting with Jenna Elfman, and I think she just, no thank you. But,
I'm not familiar with her, so
I'm just, enough with the whole Scientologist thing. Quit Scientology and maybe you can get signed on to more movies, but right now it's like...
Yeah, everybody's like, yeah.
Yeah, and me including, but, whatever. So, what else we have here?
I mean, we're kind of getting to the end of these characters.
I know, Christian Serratos, Rosita.
Yeah, I feel like her character story arc's done. What is she going to really do?
I mean, she could, though.
She's kind of boring.
She might.
Good to look at.
She's another person, though, I forgot, that might sacrifice herself for the greater good, and hopefully
I really don't want her to do a Sasha thing, though. That would be too, you doing Sasha now, too? That's, boring. I wanted to do something better with her character. I can see her trying to kill Eugene, though, that's for sure. Maybe that goes down.
Because her and Eugene's relationship in the book is not going to be anything. Now, that would be
exciting. You think, listen, you think Eugene is about to come back to the good guys again, and we're already kind of reluctant, but okay. And then she snaps and tries to kill him, and then because he's already kind of been on the edge, he snaps and the fence kills her by accident, and then it's and then she's dead, and then he's basically back to the point where he's bad again, and all the audience is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
They've already pissed us off with Eugene already, but well done on there. I have to applaud. In order to try to make some of the things from the comic work, like Dr. Carson and his role, and the timing of him getting out of the sanctuary and getting to Maggie and all that, it didn't really go down with Gabriel, but they're doing it this way, and that's fine. But if Eugene has to go with them, then that looks like he's defected.
Right.
So I don't think that's going to necessarily happen, but you know what? He can go fuck himself, make some bullets in a couple episodes from now, and then eventually maybe when all the shit hits the fan, we'll know where Eugene stands. He's one of those characters, I think, by the end of this episode, not this episode, the end of this season, you're right, during it, we'll be where is he going to flip?
Right.
Where is he going to chicken out,
Right.
But by the end, I really do think, okay, he's with us or he's not with us.
We're going to know by the end of the season.
Or he gets his face eaten off.
Or he gets killed off.
Right.
Which would be interesting if he did.
And, Gabriel, I'm pretty sure he's dead, right? I mean, he's already dying from some sort of illness.
Yeah, he's on his deathbed now, so it's not...
He might strap himself to some dynamite and jump into... I can see him doing... Himself.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be as cliche necessarily because he's always had that kind of, redemption story. So for him to finally get that last little bit of, I am dying in the righteous light. And for his own story, I think he will get that. And not just die lame. But, I mean, That's pretty much wraps it up in terms of other characters.
Well, what do you think of Aaron? We already talked a little bit of Aaron and Edith, but like I do predict that Aaron will hook up with Jesus. Like,
oh yeah, we didn't really talk about Jesus.
Them being a couple.
Yeah,
even
that's
though in
definitely
the comic
open now.
Jesus has some sort of side dish that he's hooking up with.
Which he might still do too, but
right, and that side dish might die, and then these two get together. I mean, that's
yeah,
kind of what happens in the
see,
apocalypse. So.
I could see that happening. I mean, we didn't really talk about Jesus, mainly because he wasn't really a big part of last season. He was to a degree of just being like a fucking thorn in Maggie's ass, but otherwise, you know, a character that has a lot of potential too. They didn't do much with him. I'm curious to see where they'll go. That's definitely gonna happen for the most part.
So
him and Aaron.
Jesus will live.
Jesus is gonna live.
Also known as Paul, but. What about I don't know what about gosh darn it. Oh yeah. What's his name? Gosh darn it. Where is he? He plays Gregory.
I hope Gregory
Xander
dies.
Berkeley, that's his name.
I hope Gregory dies this season. Put it that way. That's my prediction. He dies.
I think in the comic he tried to poison Maggie, and he did such a bad job of trying to poison her that like it didn't work. But he accidentally like killed someone else or something like that. And I think at that point, within that time frame, he gets offed. Well overdue. I guess if Maggie is going to be a leader and sort of stay behind and not be out there killing and stuff, that she could still kill on the inside, and it could be very well be the prisoners, including Gregory.
Right. I mean, yeah.
I see him getting strangled or something, you know.
Yeah, I hope
Not
he has kind
shot
of
in the head
almost kind of a funny death in a way, but I think it'd be interesting.
Well, we talked about Ezekiel.
We
talked about Simon. We talked about Edith.
Yep.
And
that's
Pollyanna McIntosh.
I'm sure that is.
There's no picture for her. That's why this is live, folks. See, we've got all. It's a first-time thing we're doing, but it's enjoyable because we geek out on this shit, and there's so much nerdy stuff that is cool nerdy stuff, and this is just yet one sample of many, and we're stoked to watch this episode coming up. I mean,
oh yeah,
we know Carl and the Swan Song episode, but like, I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to watch the teasers at the very end for next week.
Right.
Because I think that might actually help a little bit more overcoming the Carl thing with like, okay, I see where they're going with this. They're definitely gonna get some revenge here. Instead of like the tide totally turning, and it's totally turned until finally at the very end of the season, and then they get there. But I want some revenge now.
Right.
I want revenge next week. I want revenge the following week. It can be in small doses. I don't care, but I want revenge.
Let's see a back and forth struggle to the point where it keeps us interested.
Exactly.
You know, because we are big nerds of the show, like Pete said. We're not only nerds for the fucking story and the characters. We're nerds for the artistic style of the show. How the details go into the fucking practical and special effects, the everything, the masterful creative mindset that goes into making a show like this.
From the most
the universe.
simple things like camera shots with perspective,
right?
That basically, you know, you got a hallway,
and then a silhouette character moving towards it,
and you've got a character walking towards, or even the panning in and out from the sewers. I think it was the Greek guy, the director, had filmed that, and it was like, as they zoomed out from Carl like exposing his wound to Michonne and Rick, and you see everyone just sort of quietly like, oh shit, like they've got this, you know, Negan's got the upper hand now, and it ends like that. You don't really care about who has the upper hand. You're like, why did they fucking just kill Carl?
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Then you're like, never mind. I'm an insider. I know the comic. He's going to live because of this and that. No, it's not going to happen.
They're pulling the rug out from under us. Yeah. And so be ready for a lot of change.
And cross your fingers that contractual stuff that happened to Chandler Riggs does not happen to Lauren Cohen.
And other favorite characters of ours.
Because ever since she rode in on that horse onto the farm and Glenn went, ooh, farmer's daughter. Like from that point on, a lot of us fell in love with her character. And as she got more educated, more hard-ass and badass, she only got better with age.
Right.
Where are we now, right now, before we finish this cast? In the Walking Dead world, like, Kirkman's very vague. He doesn't want to tell us how many years have passed. He'll just say, well, how old is Carl? Oh, wait, you're not going to have him to gauge the time on anymore. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, no shit.
Come on, man.
Right, yeah. Who knows at this point?
But
they're keeping it skewed.
like, okay, well, Carl was, I guess, 10 when he was on the road with Sophia and the first gang.
Right. So he's
like,
probably like he was probably like 13.
5 years have
14.
passed. So 15, but he
maybe?
definitely
Yeah.
looks older. I know it's the actor
Yeah.
that's like 18
Right.
or 19 now. 19, I believe. But like still, I know, and most of the time, younger characters are played by people a little bit older. That goes across the board most of the time. But like, I'm pretty sure 16 is like the safe age. Like he's dying right now at 16. I
That
guess,
makes sense.
Even though it's a 19-year-old actor.
Right. You know, and then back to just kind of the round the whole thing here. If they're going to continue to kill these characters that are integral to the story and that don't need to die yet, based on where the comic has shown us and where it could potentially go, they could potentially get to the point where the main character of the show, Rick Grimes himself, may no longer be a part of The Walking Dead we know and love. And for me, man, if Rick
Stop
goes,
right there. You shut the fuck up. You don't even think that.
If Rick goes, there's no show. But Rick will be there. It's like fucking Superman.
We almost called this segment Rick's Dead World, but now we know with Scott Gimple in charge, that may not be the right title because he's killing people off and left and right.
It
He
may
has
be
the
a
final say.
Right, and it may be a Brave New World or it may be a fucking shark jumping one.
Yeah.
But hey guys, thanks for joining us here on the first ever live stream on PanNerdia, the soft opening, if you will. We have our very first show of the channel, the Walker Talkers, with Pete and myself, AA Ron. We're gonna go check out the episode ourselves of Season 8B, episode, what is that, 9?
Yeah.
And we'll let you guys know what we
Mid-season
thought of it
premiere.
next Sunday. And we'll do the same thing where we'll get on about 30 to an hour before the show starts, talk to you guys about what we thought about that episode, and then proceed then.
Mid-season premiere of The Walking Dead.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Hello? Can you give me a drink, please?
I can get you a smoke.